So I have a question. I correctly heard that that song says that
That
I'll be your Clorox wipe. Yes.
is correct. I
Okay.
got
Was
that
this?
directly from Kyle Hobstadter's
Yeah.
Best of 2020 on Spotify.
I was gonna say I
Is
really hope that was a 2020 song and not written uh, before the love affair we all had with Clorox wipes for a little while. Um, cool. All right. That's an example of an incisive question that expands upon our understanding of society and the world and our place in it. But it is ultimately meaningless, and that's not what we try and do here. I'm excited to be here. This is our show, Walking the Talk. We're starting at 8:20 because we feel like it, because it's time to have that conversation right now. Walking the Talk, if you're just seeing us for the first time, is Highwire Improv's aspirationally weekly, practically most weeks show where we talk about anything and everything happening in the world of currently online improv and in the future in-person improv, and about how improv organizations, theaters, and individuals like you and me can do things better. And we bring on guests. Sometimes it's just one guest, sometimes it's a little small panel. We have conversations about that, try and make them tactical, try and make them interesting. And we've been really lucky to have just some extraordinary people come through. Tonight is no exception. I am joined by a wonderful Baltimore-based improviser, Blue Cavell-Allette. Come on the screen, and we'll do a proper introduction. Look at this. Oh, my goodness. I'm so excited to see you. Blue and I have been friends for several years, which I am very gracious for, and multi-hyphenate
I know.
improviser, artist, many things. Has been involved in the Baltimore community for a very long time. Co-founder of Casually Dope, co-founder of Maryland Improv Collective, and many, many other things. Hello, thank you for being here, Blue.
Hey. How are you?
I'm good. I was wondering if we could just start with kind of you giving a quick intro of who you are and what you do in improv. And if you want to say things you do outside of improv, that's great. I know you have some music background, among other things. So who is Blue for people who have not had the pleasure of seeing you before?
I feel like I'm getting set up, so I'm not gonna rap. Whatever happens, I don't know what's happening, but that's
Nothing at all. No.
But I'm Blue. I'm actually from Richmond, but I moved here when I was 16 to Baltimore. And I was heavy. There was a big underground scene here with hip hop, and I was big into that. And that's how I got my nickname. I was a really good rapper back in the day. And then I got really heavily into theater at Morgan State University.
Wonderful. And
then I got married and had a kid, and not necessarily in that order. And and then I picked up improv, and that's what I've been doing for the past decade.
That's fantastic. And anybody in the Baltimore community has probably run into you at shows or practices or something like that. You've been in many, many groups and projects. And I think most notably Casually Dope, now most recently, running things at Maryland Improv Collective. Talk about a little bit about what you're doing now.
So let's be clear. I'm definitely not running things at Maryland Improv Collective. It is absolutely a collective.
Part of things, yes. Contradictory.
Executive.
Running a subset of the things that occur.
Well, yeah, it's all a team effort. But I do want to say, so I'm a founding member, because I got to get good at doing my bio. I'm a founding member of, because we used to be minority report. And then I'm also the first Black woman in Baltimore to have created a main stage. That's how I got to know Kristen, a main stage group. And that is Hostel, and we're still together now. And I'm a coach. I'm a director for theater. I've directed quite a few plays at Coppin State University. I'm supposed to be working on this. This is my New Year's resolution, because you know how hard it is to talk about yourself.
It's brutal. It's
So I'm just
awful.
like, I want to make sure, because you know what I noticed is a lot of times, especially in the international improv world or in the national world where people don't really know you, the habit of improv performers is to treat people like they're like just beginning. And I just want to get it out there. No, I'm a veteran. I've been around for a while. Just, I'm just, so yeah, I'm gonna work on it though. My bio's gonna be by the end of the year. I'm just gonna have it nailed.
We'll have you back on this show, and we can just do the bio straight through.
That's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything.
Not understood. That's what we hear at Highwire to do. It's just give people the space to do whatever they want to do. And that could be a 60-minute bio if you want. Too much.
Like that, Barry.
Sounds like a memoir.
Nicely, and then I'm going to give you a link to my page.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like that. Let's see. Where do we want to start? Let's start with what we're working on together, which is some programming for the upcoming season 2 of Highwire. We talked. Brian talked about it a little bit today on interview with the Improv Boost, and we're going to have some more kind of information coming out about it soon. But we are partnering with Maryland Improv Collective, and specifically, working with you, Blue, and then partnering with the Black Improv Alliance, and specifically Stephanie Ray there, to make all of the programming in season 2 of Highwire on Fridays be all Black troops and teams and shows, which is really exciting for us, and something that, in even like the early kind of ideations of Highwire, was something that we wanted to figure out a way to do in some form, given that this is a Baltimore-based organization, and Baltimore is over 60% Black. So why isn't the prime stage time reflective of that? And so talk about a little bit about the kind of, what you're putting together for that, and, the importance of that.
So Maryland Improv Collective also is very, very excited. So we got together before the pandemic, and one of the big things that we've worked on is a lot of community-based shows, or we do shows where we raise money for different organizations. And a lot of the people that are out of that organization. So I'm giving a little bit of backstory, because I know that with what's happening on Friday, but a lot of the people there are founding members of Big. They're the original people. And a lot of this conversation is, we didn't know, we didn't realize, or we didn't, and it's earnest. Like, I think it's earnest. It's really easy to miss certain things when you don't know they're needed. But once your eyes are open, then you're like, how do I? And so that's where this show comes in. Part of it is visibility is really important. Representation is everything. And so, and also having not just the people who are performing, but the audience reflect back. And so what we found is a block of Black shows is awesome, because everyone can watch, but it's an evening of improv for people who may, one, never see themselves, and also, two, never watch improv because they never see themselves. So it covers, both bases. This show is, we call it Block Party, and it has Cakewalk in it. So this is February 5th. Starts at 8:00. It has Cakewalk in it. I love them. And it has a new show that we're going to try out called the Newlywed Game, because it's Valentine's.
Love that.
3 couples coming on that everyone knows from the community. And then we'll do some improv off of that. Then we're going to have some sketches, some video sketches done, animated sketches done by Michelle.
Wonderful.
And then we're going to have Tastemakers, which is a show that I produce and direct. And it's a show that was going on for several years at Big before we went into quarantine. So we're starting over again virtually. So this is going to be a great, I'm excited for it. It's going to be a
Oh
great.
yeah. I mean, that is a incredible, hour and a half to 2 hours of programming, right? Like how exciting is that? And one of the great things too about, the online world we're in right now is that, it's a lot more natural to mix in something like a video sketch, right? And that multimedia and like multi forms of comedy, I think sometimes there's like a purity of improv that creates shows that are not as good. Right?
I think right, yeah. Because it's a breakup of the monotony. Because it's fun to watch improv, but you kind of have to. It's almost like being in class. Like you have to shake it up to refocus. So I'm very excited because I've never tried. So have you done it before with the visuals in between?
Yeah, we've done a couple of things like that. I know Sneaker Wave did something like that recently where they had a mix of stand-up, sketch, and improv over an hour, and it works great. Yeah.
But they didn't do the video.
No, they didn't do video. It was live sketch.
That blew
first video sketch interstitial to improv.
I need it to be noted, right? At least out of Baltimore. I just need it to be noted.
Right? And now we have to update the bio.
I love you. Yep.
But it's interesting too. Like, I think there are a lot of improv communities that have even resisted something as kind of audience friendly as like, let's thinking about Cakewalk, right? Let's have an improv show that looks and feels and can be marketed as like a sitcom, which is what Cakewalk does. And, if you want to grow your community, if you want to bring more people into improv, doing it with the most esoteric form of improv, even if it's exceptionally done, is maybe not the best strategy.
I know we have our friend Coco, who's going to be the guest. I'm so excited for this. Coco Galore is out of Toronto, and they have a show at the theater that she's the executive and artistic director, where they do so what they have is 3 performers dress up as characters, and they videotape it, and it's improv. And then what they do is they have 3 people come on stage, different people, but wearing the same outfits to finish off the scene.
Oh my God.
Those damn entertaining shows. It's called Doppelganger. That's what it's called. It's called Doppelganger.
Amazing. That's Bad Dog Comedy Theater.
Right? That's the first time I see it. I don't know if they're the first to originate, but it's the first time. I believe they are. This is the first time I ever saw it, and I love that concept. But one of the things that I think is going to come out of us being virtual is a lot of things that we thought were difficult. Because with Cakewalk, the goal was to do some of the sitcom, because they did an intro, and the intro was amazing. Like that was like, ooh, what if we could get more? And I think you kind of get, as improv, you kind of get, what is it, a little bit like overwhelmed or like, oh no, I don't know about I think it's going to start like merging, especially now because it used to be New York, LA that got all the visibility. But now that we're virtual, it's no longer the case that we can't put out product where people can be like, oh, okay, I like them, or ooh, let's check them out. So these are exciting times, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And you already mentioned kind of one of the, I think the importance parts of having blocks of programming, both so that people know, we can build an audience around that, and we can have kind of a consistent experience, right? Rather than many times I've gone and seen say Casually Dope, and then the next show is very different. And if I'm going out too for like a 50-minute show, and then the next hour is not something I enjoy, that's like kind of not a great night. Like it's probably hard to sell that, and hard to build a community around that. And so one of what was I think really important too for us was it wasn't enough to just have more Black improv teams perform. It wasn't even enough to have more Black improv teams perform in prime time. But it's what I really like about the thing that we're doing together is it's every Friday. It's Friday is a night for Black improv, and it's just like you can remember that, like like it's that's simple. It's right, and and from the point of view of kind of just making things easier to build a community around, that's the type of thing that I think gets lost elsewhere when people with good intentions or with earnest, goals don't kind of think the next couple of steps. And I'm wondering if anything comes to mind about like other things like that people like, fail to provide the full support for when they're trying to reach out to, the Black community or other kind of, communities that maybe are not represented well in improv, where they say, let's put a show up and then that's it. Like, what are some other things that you've seen be missing?
Well, I can't. All right. So this is how I'm going to address it. I never can just do shit simple. What I know about the Black community at Big is that it was intentional. So when we think about wanting to have a community, you want to have people want to be there. You don't want people to be brought in or come in because then there's a possibility of feeling tokenized or being used for something other than your talent. So you create this organic type space, like a community, a family. You show up, you do work, you become connected through work, and everyone's not going to be best friends, but that's not what a community is. A community is people that show up for each other. Think of it like the cousins in the family reunion. Like, am I going to hang out no, but I'm glad to see them.
Yeah.
That's what I think theaters need to understand. This is not like, I think a lot of times theaters think of, oh, well, we have to, the LGBTQ community has to have this. And then, no, what we want to kind of do is create a community where it's all integrated, and then we move here, like this is what we want to do over here. And whoever's supposed to be in this space will be here. And we don't have to say, because the community has community. The theater has to be safe enough where a community builds itself, where it feels safe enough to share its art. And that's what I think people are missing right during this moment.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And it makes
answer the question. That's what you asked for, and I get. Look at me. That was a full.
That's what we do. We ask questions, we have answers. It's great.
The theater has to be safe enough where a community builds itself, where it feels. The universe.
That was intense. I did not do that. That was the technical magic of High Wire Improv, playing back the quote for us. That's a quote to write down. Yeah, it's interesting. Like there's you can feel a lot. There are a lot of communities with a lot of don't say don't say dough in the chat, like that was a mistake. That was a gift. That's an improv gift right there. But there's a lot of kind of potential energy in these improv communities. Like we want to do stuff. We want to do a better job of these things, and that can, I think, be misdirected. You don't want to just like fire a rocket and then walk away, right? It's got to be a sustained effort that's going to lead to the type of result that you earnestly want, and that often doesn't, like, it almost doesn't feel like you're accomplishing the goal at first if you're doing it in that way.
It shouldn't be. So here's the thing: if you're doing it correctly, so I imagine for people who are part of the community, it started with, so we have Casually Dope, and then what we know is that's an insulated, because that was all the people of color that were all the Black people that were at the theater were for years.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what I noticed, and I became very good friends with Tashika, and I'm sure I'm not the only people who thought this, but like one of the things you think is there's no safe space for everyone else. So they're just kind of coming and leaving, and there's no like, I'm not saying there's no safe space. There's not like a home feeling, because a lot of people, that was the consistent thing. I don't really feel like it's my home. So then it's this thing where we start to meet each other, because Thomas is a veteran, like, where I even came, and Ty's a veteran. And so here we have the veterans, merging and we're talking, but it's all organic. And the reason why all right, so first of all, it's hard to sell organic because then if you go out and try and be organic, you're not organic.
Right.
But it's this thing of how do you create an environment? So one of the ways I think theaters can do this is also instead of inviting people, because I also think, I think Highwire has great intentions. And one of the things that we've talked about is during this time, people are going to make mistakes.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
We don't know. We don't know what works because what works in this community may not work for another community.
Right. Yeah.
It's how it works. But it's how you address those. Like, oh, okay, this didn't work. This didn't feel really good. It's being transparent. All those things are wonderful. But what I think, especially in a city like Baltimore, or no, that's not true because we're very national now, is looking to watch performers. And what you start seeing is, I like them. I like that. That troupe is really good. And you invite them. And so then there's this feeling of, oh, you wanted me because of my talent.
Right.
Not because you were trying to tick off some boxes.
Yeah.
That feels safe and loving. And then when you have a couple of, then you're just like, oh, I see you. And then it just kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like we start to form like Mercury. Is that?
Yeah. Like the bubbles connect and they pull together. Right. Surface tension.
It's a beautiful visual. Thank you. For
yeah, no, that resonates very clearly with me because you can't just go ask people to come do your thing, right? And I talked with somebody else recently about that kind of at the very least you have to build some kind of mutual relationship where like I come to you, I teach you this, you teach me that, and that feels good.
Balance.
That respect and that this like appreciation for you're doing something great here, we'd love to highlight it, that feels good. And you do more and more of that. And like the other thing that we're thinking about a lot is just making it clear that if people want to do something, it will be possible, right? And if you want to you want to start a jam for women and non-binary and gender non-conforming people, somebody asked and then it happened, and like that kind of structuring that those lack of barriers also help make people think that they can come together and do something, and that if they bring ideas to the table they'll be welcomed. But those are all really kind of like what I think people struggle with, and I've struggled with it myself. It's like those are really intangible things. Like it's we're gonna support good ideas. Is like, okay, great, but what do we actually do this month? Like, and it doesn't feel like that, and you have to kind of stick to those ideals and build things over time.
Well, I think it's interesting. So if you look at the two theaters, so we have Highwire and we have Mike.
Yeah.
Mike is unique in a way because there were Black founding members of the theater.
Yeah.
And so Tashika and I were at that first table. We were all together for that first practice.
Yeah.
We were members. We rose. We gave input, and I felt like I was a part of something because it was all of us coming together. Not, hey, Blue, can you come here? Like we don't have any representation.
Right.
Now, I feel good about that. That feels good to me to have that. But there's also a space like yours where your friend, and this is how it normally happens. Like you all are friends. We're friends. I love you.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's also what you're doing now is you're creating like almost this vibration of this is a safe space.
Right.
And what it does is it takes a little bit longer in your case, but it's authentic. So to me, it feels very authentic to say, we want to create a safe space and come. And that's the part that's going to you're going to feel impatient because you're like, I just want it now, just come. And say they build it and they will come. people probably don't like them saying they. I don't know who they are, but so don't quote that. But just like, I think that that's also another wonderful way of doing it. Like, you're doing the work, and then you're also willing to revisit things. And you're also saying, in both theaters are saying, if we make mistakes, it's so much better to try some shit. Honestly, that's how
right.
and be like, okay, that did not work out quite like we intended. So let's go back and try again.
Yeah.
So I think that's what so we see two different models, right?
Yeah.
And they're both, to me, really good models. I think they're a lovely, and we're like not competition. We're like, hey, a community of and Bird City, like we
Right.
all these theaters that are, hey, I like you over there. Hey, let's work together. And it's like this organic space, whereas before we were kind of like a mono, like,
Yeah.
I was going to do the marching thing. That was a little extra.
Yeah.
Like,
There's yeah, that feeling in the last 10 months is like so many different people have connected and so many different improv communities have connected online. It feels like almost like the most important to preserve for improv, as we kind of, go back to in-person activities and stuff like that, is not to forget that, because it's, it doesn't have to be competitive, right? And
yeah,
really, it really, really doesn't have to be. And I don't mean it like it doesn't have to be competitive, like we all have to, do all this and never pay any money and never, put up shows and never make anything grow. That's not that at all. But it doesn't.
yeah.
It can be cooperative and grow.
Driving it. The ego is not driving it. So if
right.
say Mike was doing something and we're like, hey, a student were to come to us and say, hey, I'm really interested in ABC. What a loving community does is say, I don't think we have what you need here, but
right.
you think would be a wonderful space to try that idea is here.
Here you go. Right.
And then or you want to take a class, we're not offering it, but someone. So what ends up happening is we understand. So competition sometimes comes out of lack and a fear of not having enough, which is kind of what happened previously in the community. We couldn't imagine having enough community to feed all the different things that were happening. And so it created a negative kind of tension that shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Because what we found out is there's more than enough, and there's always going to be someone that wants to try it, and there's always going to be someone looking, and there's never enough space. I don't care if you only have
ever
for 3 months. There's always going to be more people that need main stage time. Because main stage is a thing. I don't care how much I believe it's not.
Well, right. I mean, and we were thinking, we're online. There's not going to be a problem. And we're putting together a schedule for season 2, and it's like we have to do 4 hours of shows on Saturdays and like extra shows on Thursdays just to fit everybody in, and that's a great problem to have. That's,
right. That's
right.
A good
right. But like there will never be enough space. There will never be, that the need to expand and give people more stage time or locations or practice facilities will never go away.
And it's so much better for us to love each other, because here's the thing. What if you have access, because we are all startups and we all don't like how we work together. There are not a ton of people who are able to do tech. So I'm over here like, oh, I have tech. And you're over here like, well, I know how to do promotions.
Yep.
And we can really thrive, because if the common goal is not to have a theater be a big name, but Baltimore be a big name, then it's going to be bonkers. It's going to, I feel like when everything opens up, Baltimore is going to be the place to be, for like one of the places you got to touch if you're really improv. I believe it. I really do.
I do too. And, it's because there is a core of really talented and passionate people here, but it's also, hopefully we're starting to turn a corner where people we're building things up together rather than competing or tearing things down. And we got to hold on to that, obviously, as we get,
I don't think it's honestly, so sometimes I'm very optimistic. But I'm also usually right. So I love what's happening right now. I think worrying about it, because there are too many checks and balances.
Right.
Just thrive off of each other. Like Bird City thrives with, you know what I mean, with High Wire, and Mike thrives with all of y'all. Like however quiet it is or however loud it is, there's no way that we all are going to survive everything if we don't have some support from each other.
And because the markets or the communities that don't do that, people just stop doing improv. Like I think about how ridiculous it is that if I grew up in Baltimore and I took the whole set of curriculum here and I moved to Chicago to basically do anything at any of the big schools in Chicago, I'd have to start from 101 and pay another $1,500. One, a lot of people can't do that, or they can't do it right away. Two, that doesn't sound like a continuation of the fun I was having. And three, now you're going to lose that potentially really great member of the community because of a couple $100 in classes. If you take the longer view of what happens if we bring this person in and put them in a place to succeed, maybe that person gets 5 of their friends to come do classes and see shows and pay for workshops. And it's a very short-sighted model.
It's arrogance. So what we saw was there are a lot of, just like in politics, there are a lot of narcissistic people who are in improv. So improv to me is this interesting dynamic of a lot of alphas playing team sports. It's interesting. So all my girlfriends are alphas, but we all know we're I don't think everyone's an alpha that does improv, but there are a lot of people who are like, look at me. And then it's this thing where I don't think Baltimore was like that, but I think the bigger community, like, I'm a star, look, I run a theater, look at me. And that ego, I just must love that voice. I don't know why I keep doing it. I'm gonna find another.
Tune in on February 5th.
I'm just all night. That's all I'm gonna practice. But we notice that ego is the thing. So there's greed and there's ego that's rampant outside of the many other problems that improv communities have. But then there are also spaces where community is everything. And when I say alpha, I mean, there's always this thing that people who are like really strong personality or can't work together, but that's not true. I don't think that's true at all. I think that a good community can value what everyone brings as long as we value the community and not the individual. So the problem is we cannot have someone here that's a god. Because I know people, remember, okay, I'm a little bit off, so you're just gonna have to follow me. Like people would get excited about doing a workshop, never saw this person's stuff, never Googled it, but they just knew the name. And they're sitting there like, I've seen them. Why are y'all so excited? Like, what the heck? Like, what do you, because improv will do that. Improv will name off of popularity and not off of talent.
It's, and I don't know if it's unique, but it feels a little unique, right? Where there's like kind of this weird, like,
get away with that
star market.
Right, you can't get away with that. Try that shit in Shakespeare. It's not going to work. Like, but it's also this thing of where are you from? So elitism is what sells classes at certain theaters. I'm not opposed to it because I think you will have theaters that are better than others. I just do the way one
of course
have. But I promise you, after all this is done, there'll be spaces where they're like, oh, you're from there. Because whenever you hear, oh, you're from Chicago. Okay, you're good. You don't know if they're good or not.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think, pre all of this online connection, you really, unless you went to festivals and like paid attention the whole time instead of, doing your show and having fun, which is probably the better way to do it. Like you didn't see it, right? You just knew they were from insert name of popular theater, and you probably never saw a show. Maybe you saw one show. Maybe they came and did a workshop in your city one time 2 years ago, and that's it. And now you see, like I've seen people in all of these cities that I've never been to, and I know who's doing good things. And when I can travel again, there's a set of cities that I wasn't planning to go to before. They're like, I'm going to.
Yes, I cannot wait. I'm so excited for all the different places that I didn't know I needed to go.
What are your top few?
I am okay. So I've got to make it to Black and Funny. So I already knew that on the list.
Yep, that's in Minneapolis, right?
Minneapolis. Yep. Problem with Minneapolis is the tickets are too damn high, because whenever we get ready to go, I'd be like, the tickets cost as much to go to Grenada, like $800 one way. But we're gonna get there. We're gonna get to Black and Funny. Texas has a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, like they have a scene that I'm kind of excited about. I don't mean kinda. That sounds, if they're watching, like kind of. But
everyone.
I'm excited for. I want to go to England.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff coming out there.
Like I want to go to. Well, I hope it's Liverpool. I want to go to. I'm just gonna put it on.
It's the whole tour.
But I want to go to Liverpool. I want to see the community there. I want to go to Canada.
Yeah.
Travel to Montreal. Like there are all these different places where I'm meeting people, and I'm like, oh, I like the way y'all play.
Yeah.
Fun.
It's stuff you don't see before, and I had the fortune. I took a couple workshops in London when I was there doing work, like a couple of years ago, and that was like the first thing that like clicked for me in like April. Like, oh, I could probably take a class at the theater in London, right? It's like, oh, it's great.
Where are you taking a class?
I took one at Hoopla
in London. Taking a class in Hoopla.
What class?
I'm taking the Sketch 101.
Nice. Oh my God.
I forgot the teacher's name. I hope they're not watching, but I forgot she's a writer for the Tracy Ullman show. I'm very, very
nice. Yeah, they have a lot of great stuff going on there. Really, really cool.
I'm gonna try and come in with an English accent, and see if I can get it. I'm gonna be like high school with a Puerto Rican accent all over again. I'm just gonna try and see if I can get through the whole time.
Why not?
Without being seen.
That's I think a good place to kind of end it. One of the things that I'd like to do at the end of all these is one, ask our guests to plug whatever they're working on, which we talked about a little bit ahead of time, but I would love to kind of get all the names and places where we can see you and the organizations you're working with, and then shout out a couple people who you think are doing things right or doing good work that we should talk to in the future.
Okay. So we know about the show coming up February 5th. You want me to do that again? Are you saying don't do that again? I couldn't tell.
Go for it. No,
So February 5th, we're having the first of a scheduled line of Block Party, which highlights performers out of Baltimore. So most of the performers that will be there for that first evening of each month will be from Baltimore, which is also important. And I love that you're creating a space for performers that are here that need visibility and space to do it. So I love that. Also, I want to throw out there that I coach, that I do workshops. So if someone's watching this and they're like, "Ooh, I like her," and how could you not? You can contact me. I don't know how to tell them to contact me. That's so funny.
We can put info in the video.
You're just gonna look right here. Barry's gonna put my link right.
Like, subscribe.
So those are my things. And then you want to know who I think is doing amazing things in the community.
Yeah.
So I think. So I'll start locally. I think that Tashika is doing amazing things
Yeah.
and producing a lot of shows that have visibility for performers that are Black. I also think that Ty is doing a great deal of work, and they're a veteran teacher and a founding member of Casually Dope. I didn't shout out Cakewalk, and Tashika's with Cakewalk, so two amazing teams. I love them to pieces. I also, on a more national level, I really love watching Stephanie from Black Improv Alliance and watching Michelle from MKE, which is her theater that owns it, which I think is. And I went to a jam. She has a jam.
They're so great.
And when you see, like we were talking, and I was just like, she has created a space for people who do improv to feel safe and excited. And I have never seen someone have a jam where they had to go through 5 pages of grid. So that was amazing. So everyone is doing, all these people are doing amazing work. And there's so many more people. I wish.
Of course. Yeah.
I don't want to
figure we do these and everyone pitches in a few, and by the end of the year we'll have too many people to talk to.
Well, yeah. And you know, the thing is that the amazing thing right now is Casually Dope has traveled a lot. So, you know, we headlined and we did a lot of festivals where they paid us to come out and see them. All I'm saying. But the point of that is that we had the privilege of networking.
Right.
Now, world, and I know I sound like a broken record, but now that we're all getting to see each other and do things, the possibilities are limitless. Like I feel more excited now than I did this time last year about improv.
Me too. Yeah.
So
that's the best note to end this on. Thank you so much for being here, Blue.
Thank you for having me.
It's been wonderful. We are going to try and do this every week. I know next week's the inauguration, but we're going for it anyway. We're going to try and keep it on schedule. And follow Maryland Improv Collective. We'll put some information on where to find information about them. Follow Blue. We'll put it all out there, and come back and see us here again on howwireimprov.com and on our YouTube channel. And have a good night, everyone.